Hey everybody and welcome back. We're diving into a career that's really got some juice right now, becoming a solar energy sales consultant. We've got a bunch of info from RoleCatcher, and they've given us some pretty bright ideas to think about.
You know what's cool about this job? It's way more than just your average sales thing. It's not about pushing a product. You're like a guide helping people get into the world of clean energy.
Yeah, you're basically selling a chunk of the future. RoleCatcher is big on that. You got to be a teacher, a myth buster, a consultant,
Yeah,
all in one, right?
totally. But even though RoleCatcher makes it sound amazing, let's be real for a sec. It's not all sunshine and roses out there.
Okay, so hit me with it. What are some of the tough parts of this job?
You'd be surprised how many people are still iffy about solar. You'll meet folks worried about the cost up front, others freaking out about cloudy days. Some even think it's just a trend that'll fade out, so you got to be ready to shut down those myths with facts and make it make sense for them.
So it's a good poker face won't do the trick. You got to come in loaded with knowledge.
You got it. And that brings up another thing. This industry is always changing. New gadgets, rules changing left and right, incentives going up and down. It's a whirlwind. If you want to be a top consultant, you got to be a student forever. Always got to be learning new stuff and adapting.
So basically, no time to just chill and ride the wave in this gig.
Nope, not a chance. And of course, there's always those sales targets breathing down your neck. RoleCatcher talks about flexible hours and making bank, which is true, but that flexibility usually means working late to catch up on leads, or weekends at those industry shindigs.
Yeah, that work-life balance can get kind of messy, huh? And the source material mentions travel, too. You could be covering a ton of ground, literally, based on where you're working.
Exactly. It's like this. You get to make your own schedule, but if you're chasing those big commissions, be ready to put in the time, even on the road sometimes.
So we've talked about the hurdles, but what about the skills you need to really crush it in solar sales?
Yeah.
RoleCatcher gets into this, and honestly, some of it caught me off guard.
Yeah, it's a pretty diverse mix, right? You've got your sales and communication chops for sure. But then things get interesting. We're talking being a strong reader, a good listener, even knowing a bit about engineering and design can be huge.
Hold up, engineering and design. That's not what I pictured with solar sales. Help me out here. What's the link?
Think of it like this. You're not just selling panels, you're selling a whole energy solution, one that fits each client and their property. So you got to be able to look at a building and see its energy use, know how the sun hits the roof, maybe even sketch out where the panels could go right there during a meeting. That's where those technical skills come in handy.
Ah, I get it. It's about showing how solar fits into their life, not just making a sale. Makes sense why RoleCatcher is big on problem solving and critical thinking as key skills.
Exactly. Every client's different. You got some psyched about going green but with a funky roof. Others might be hung up on the money side. Got to think fast, address what's bugging them, and give them a solution that clicks.
It's like being a detective almost, figuring out their needs and finding the perfect solar setup.
Speaking of figuring things out, what about figuring out your career in this field? What does moving up the ladder look like?
RoleCatcher actually maps out a pretty clear path. You might start as a junior consultant, digging into market research, maybe shadowing a senior person on calls, learning the ropes. As you get better and make more sales, you could become a senior consultant, handling bigger clients, maybe even leading a team.
And for those who want to be total solar gurus, are there specializations they can go for?
You bet. As you get more experience, you might find your thing. The source material mentions stuff like specializing in energy storage, those high-tech batteries that hold solar power for later. Or you could be the expert on smart grids, where solar power links up with the bigger electrical system.
So you could get really niche with the tech side of things. Okay, last question before we get into how RoleCatcher can help you land these jobs. The source material says you often just need a high school diploma to start, but that a bachelor's degree can give you an edge. What are your thoughts on that? That's a good one. And it comes up a lot in fields where sales are king. Some employers care most about experience, but having a degree, especially in something related like renewable energy or environmental science, can really boost you up.
So it's not just about checking a box, it's about showing you really get the field and are serious about it.
Exactly. And remember, this industry is all about staying ahead of the game. A degree can give you that base knowledge of solar tech, energy rules, even marketing stuff, which can make all the difference when you're up against some tough competition.
All right, so we've got the skills down, we see the path ahead. But how do you actually snag that dream solar job? This is where RoleCatcher really comes in. They've got some seriously cool AI stuff to help you out.
Yeah, this is where tech becomes your best bud in the job hunt. RoleCatcher uses AI to, dissect job descriptions. It figures out those magic keywords that make your resume jump out to recruiters.
So instead of sending out the same old resume, you're creating something special that speaks directly to what those employers want. It's like having a cheat code to avoid the rejection pile.
Totally. Imagine this. You're a recruiter, right? And you're drowning in resumes. RoleCatcher's AI is like that little nudge that pushes yours to the top. It shows off the skills and experience that fit each job perfectly. Work smarter, not harder, right?
Music to my ears. And RoleCatcher doesn't stop there. They've also got this massive library of practice interview questions, over 120,000 of them. I almost spit out my coffee when I saw that number.
Seriously, they went all out. And these aren't your basic, boring interview questions either. They're tailored for different industries, so you'll be ready for whatever curveballs those solar hiring managers throw at you.
Okay, now you've got me curious. Can we go over a couple of those questions just to give our listeners a little preview?
For sure. So a couple that really stuck out to me from the solar energy sales consultant list were, how would you handle objections from potential clients? And can you tell me about a time you had to change up your sales pitch to fit a specific client's needs?
Those are really good ones, and they get right to the heart of what we've been saying today. Being adaptable, tackling concerns head on, treating each client like an individual.
Exactly. Think of it like rehearsing for a play. The more you practice those tough scenes, the more confident you'll be when it's showtime for your interview.
Well said. We've covered a ton of ground on this solar-powered deep dive. What are some key things you want our listeners to remember?
First off, don't forget, this industry is exploding right now. The demand for skilled solar people is through the roof, so there's a huge chance for anyone willing to hustle.
Ride that wave of the future, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
But it's not just about riding the wave. It's about making your own way, too. Never stop learning. Embrace the challenges. And remember, tools like RoleCatcher are there to give you that extra boost.
Love it. Now, before we wrap up, what's your pro tip for our future solar superstars? What's some outside-the-box advice that wasn't in our RoleCatcher research?
You know what can really make you stand out? Finding ways to show you're passionate about sustainability. Maybe you start a blog about your solar journey, volunteer with an environmental group. Heck, even put solar panels on your own house.
Now, that's walking the walk. It shows dedication and gives you real-life experience to talk about in interviews.
Exactly. Go that extra mile and prove you're truly committed to this field.
On that note, we'll leave you with that thought. A big thanks to our expert for shining a light on this exciting career path. And to you, our listeners, for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those career goals shining bright.